They walk in that room, they become yours. And you got this energy inside your soul that says, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt. I'll see you in the winner's circle celebrating your victory. Let's go. 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 Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 204 of the AP at New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got here this morning. We got Mona Monologue, and I got to read something that she wrote me here. It says, I just graduated. I earned a PhD in special education leadership from Capella University. I'm so grateful for all the learning opportunities and positive energy in Principal Kafele's platform, man. I feel blessed by your words, but congratulations to you, Mona. You've been a trooper for a little bit now on this platform. So y'all give her some emojis, man. That's one of the family. That's not just somebody that popped up to hear my guest today. That's one of the family. So give us some love, man. Mona Molag. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Maybe one day she could tell me, but she knows who it is. So congratulations to you, Doc. Dr. Mona. You're gonna go by Dr. Mona or Dr. Obamolak, right? So but good job to you. Let me see. We got AP Patrick Lawrence in the building. We got where we at? Rodney Richardson Jr. in the building down in Hampton. I'm down here in Virginia too, Rodney. I was at the Teachers of Promise Institute last night with my man Wade Whitehead. He was a guest of mine, one of my Milken brothers back in January. We got Takesha High is also down here in Virginia. We got my man, the good brother, the good Dr. Don Parker in the building out there in Chicago. Marsha Poe is in San Diego. Scott Wiley's in Chester, West Virginia. Dr. Rella Hicks is in the building. I guess you were with or had Sean Hurt with you yesterday, my brother. Tashika Truesdale is in the building. Constance Sherrod and Truesdale's in Atlanta. We got Constance Sherrod down in Mississippi. We got Lysandra Brackens in North Carolina. Michael Benton, Cincinnati, Ohio. We got the Queen is in the building. The Queen of not this castle, man. It's just a DoubleTree hotel, baby. but the Queen of the castle back in Jersey City, Kimberly Broughton Kafele is in the building. She said, "Hey, honey." Ain't seen her in a minute, man. I'm on the road, y'all. We got Jackie in the building. Jacqueline Harriet is in the building from Nova Scotia, bringing that international flavor into the platform. We got Demetrius Scott. Dr. Demetrius Scott is here. My brother, Haley Elaine Couch out there in Oklahoma. I see ya. Good morning to you. Valerie Macy's in the building. Dot McKeever, Principal Dot McKeever Jeter out there in Calumet City, Illinois. We got Bev Hill, Zachary, Louisiana. We all over the country, y'all. Vicky Baxter's in the building up there in Buffalo, New York. Hey, Vicky, didn't you have some snow or something? Cynthia Farmer's in the building. From Chicopee, I think it says. Where's that? Massachusetts. Let's go. Where we at? Melissa Jones Chunu family in the building out there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Bobby Morgan, Verlander Jones is in the building. Antonella Capipoli is in the building. I hope I got that right. Out there in New York City. That's District 31. That's Staten Island. Yeah. Good morning to you. We got Sharon Wright in the building. Edwin Garcia. There's the good Dr. Vincent Stallings in the building. I see you. I see you. I know you ain't gonna miss this one. Valerie Macy's in the building. I'm getting ready to get it started, y'all. Lakeisha Redmond's in the building. There's the good principal. I see you. Paula McIntosh Bethea is in the building. Carol Blanchard, where we at? Where we at? Cynthia Farmer's in the building. I'm getting ready to wrap it up, y'all. Let me find some one of my local homies here somewhere. I see all them emojis you gave Mona too, folks. That's good stuff. Good stuff. I see one of the local homies, and he was not only one of the local homies, but he was a teacher at my last school I led, North Tech. I see you. I see you, Mr. James Rudy Andrews Sr. Good to see you. But you here for Ivana. Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Hey, them North Tech folks in Healy, I don't see your names, man. Don't be hiding in the cut. Let me see who you are. Come on this screen, because I saw y'all saying you was going to be here. So let me see some of them North Tech names on here and some of them Healy names as well. Let me get started, y'all. I'm kind of loud. I need to bring it down. I'm in the hotel, man. I ain't going to give you that fire now. You know, they be calling the fire department up here, but we're going to give you a little something, right? So let me say to you, good. Ooh, that sounds terrible, man. See, let me just go for it. Good morning. Yeah, I gotta go for it, man. If the phone start ringing, I know it's the front desk. Greetings. Welcome to week 204 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Woo-hoo-hoo. But you know something, man? You know, I want y'all to know how I feel, right? I'm praying on this one, right? I want you to know how I feel, man. And the reason I want you to know is because I want you to feel the same way. Now, do I have stuff going on? We all do, man. But I ain't going to let that control me, man. I ain't going to let that dominate my attitude. I'm not going to let that dominate my emotions, man. You put it all in check. You know, we manage. You know, there's so many different vehicles out here for us to learn how to manage emotions, manage stress, right? So we manage whatever it is we're up against. So despite whatever it is, I'm going to say this one time, man, and then I hope my phone don't ring. But I want y'all to know how I feel up in this hotel, man, with this echo in my room. I'm on. Woo! Fire! Woo! I ain't give you that scream. Man. Them people, they be knocking on the door. Is there a fire in 830? I shouldn't be telling y'all my room number. Is there? I'm not in 830. I ain't give you the last number. Somebody be up here. Hey, one of my enemies be up here. We know where Kafele at. Go to that hotel, and he's in room such and such. We'll jack him up. No, hey y'all, listen. Let me do some shout outs, y'all. Shout out to Kings County Office of Education, Culture and Climate Summit under the leadership of Chandler Clement Chaplin and Jessica Womack. Man, we were out there in Kings County, California earlier this week and had a dynamite time with all these leaders, man. Shout out to them, particularly, again, Chandler Clement Chaplin and Jessica Womack. And then shout out to AccuTrain. That's an organization I've been working with for many years. We did a filming out in Manhattan doing this course. It's going to be made public probably next month for the world. And just spent about all day just sitting behind a camera filming in this studio. So shout out to AccuTrain who puts on the Innovative School Summits all over the country throughout the year. And shout out last night to Teachers of Promise under my man, my milking brother, Wade Whitehead, who's been on the platform. He was on the first Saturday in January, along with Nattertois, my other milking brother. Shout out to Wade for the work he's doing with just getting teachers ready to walk into these classrooms and take care of business right here in Virginia, which is where I'm at today. Welcome to the first timers. Don't let this be your last time, though. If this is your first time, that means you got to catch up on 203 previous sessions. You got work to do. And the average session is like 90 minutes, but a whole lot of them are 2 hours long. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel, the AP and New Principals Academy. Forget just AP and New Principals Academy. Subscribe, and subscribe. And Paul, I got the do not disturb note out there, but they knocked on the door right before we went live and talking about some housekeeping. I told the manager, I said, please don't have them do that, but they did it, right? So shout out to so make sure that you subscribe and then watch those 203 previous sessions. I promise you they will bless your soul, your spirit, your work. I promise you, because the type of guests that been coming through here, oh man, you got to check it out. And then you couple that with Sean Hurt at 10 o'clock, Facebook Live. Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston, Tammy Taylor at 10:30. Myself, 10:55. And then Josh Tovar, Dean Packard, Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. Man, you can't go wrong. We call ourselves the Fantastic Four. You can't go wrong with that. All right. Let me keep going, y'all. So when you subscribe to the channel, make sure that you check out the YouTube short of the week. Every Wednesday, we put a new one up there, 60 seconds. You got time, check them out. And then if those of you interested in becoming a speaker, check out the series I put on there, Becoming a Professional Speaker. And those of you that want to write that best-selling book, make sure you check out that series that I wrote on becoming a best-selling author, right? So be sure to check those out on the channel. School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele, July 9 and 10. Come on out and join me in Houston in July 9 and 10. This is unlike everything else I do. Everything else I do, I'm invited to come out and speak somewhere, right? But this is my event. So now you fly in to join me, but we're going to do it in Houston this year. We normally do it in Charlotte. So July 9 and 10, go to principalkafele.com, scroll down to the Principal Kafele announcements, click the link, and then register. And then I see you in Houston, man, all day long. We're talking leadership. That's all we're going to do. Talk leadership all day, talk leadership over lunch, talk leadership over breakfast if you want to, talk leadership in between days. Like, so the evening of the night, y'all ain't doing nothing. You locked in a hotel area, or unless you're going to travel in Houston, we could talk some more leadership. I ain't got no problem with that, right? So join me in Houston, School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele. I didn't bring any of my books with me, so make sure you go to Amazon and put in my name, Baruti Kafele, and all my books will pop up. But the main three, the Assistant Principal 50, the Aspiring Principal 50, and the Assistant Principal Identity. Those are the main three, but you know I've written 13 books, but those are the three that I really want you to zero in on if you don't have them already. The Assistant Principal 50, the Aspiring Principal 50, and the Assistant Principal Identity. Let me throw another one in. The Principal 50, and Is My School a Better School Because I Lead It? Because I got to remember the new principal. So, and the veteran principal. So make sure you order all 5. We got Vincent Stallings. Can't wait for my guests. So let me hurry up. Let's see where we at. Let me do this quick monologue, y'all, and then I'm done. And then I'm gonna bring up my guests. I got this message yesterday on LinkedIn. I'm not gonna tell you the person's name because I didn't ask for permission to do so, but I want to share with you something that she wrote me real quick. This is my monologue. Let me get Stallings out the way here. The young lady wrote me and she said, "Good afternoon, Principal Kafele. You were my principal at Patrick Healy Middle School many moons ago. I wanted to introduce myself and say that I can't remember." Let me do that again. I wanted to introduce myself and say that I can't remember a single principal I've ever had, not even high school. But for some reason, you have always stuck with me. Goes to show that you did a phenomenal job. And I wanted to give you your flowers, as the young people say, while you're still here with us. I'm going to be here a long time. I know my wife can't stand when people say that, but I'm going to be here. I'll be here to at least 100. You know, I ain't going nowhere. Right? So I read that like many times and I said, man, that's a blessing. So I wrote her back. And then she followed up with something. I'm not going to read all this, but this part is instructive. And this is why I made it my commentary. She said, I see. Let me put this name up here. All right. Now you don't come on here, Chrissy Nicole, when it's like just me, right? You come on here when it's Ivana, right? What's going on? Then maybe you say, no, I'm on here, but I just never showed my name on here. Okay, I give you that. Even though I just put words in your mouth, right? But listen. So she went on and said, this is instructive, and this is why I'm sharing this with y'all. Shanavia Davis, another one. All these North Tech students. She said, I dropped out of school in my junior year due to the loss of my dad at 15, grappling silently with depression, which led to a decline in my grades and attendance. I transitioned from being a middle school valedictorian to becoming a dropout, yet no one bothered to inquire about the reasons behind my academic decline. I recently spoke at the high school I attended, which I'm not going to name, where I made sure to highlight how the system had failed me. And I'm going to leave it right there. Let me say this to y'all before I bring up my guests. I said, ouch, when I read that. I read it to my audience last night, too, here in Virginia, in my intro. This young lady was a valedictorian in middle school. So by junior year, she's gone. She dropped out of school. Now, right now, she's in a prestigious law school. She's about to get her JD degree. So she's doing big things. But she said the system failed her. So I brought my mirror, and I'm going to ask you, as it relates to your leadership, is there a possibility that there's a student in your school under your leadership, whether you be principal or assistant principal, whether you be superintendent of a district, assistant superintendent, whatever you are, is there a possibility that there's a youngster under your leadership who feels within themselves that the system is failing me? Or is there a possibility that there's a youngster who was with you, but is now an adult and reflects back on you and says, under your leadership, the system failed me, right? I mean, that hurts. This is going to be a vulnerable session we're doing today. So I'm going to be vulnerable right here before I even bring my guest up. I'm certain that there's students out here in the world. Everybody's not going to love Kafele. I'm certain there's somebody out here, man, the system failed me when you were Principal Kafele. The system failed me when you were my teacher, Kafele. I can live with that because I know this system can be a monster. But the good thing is that I don't mind being transparent with it, vulnerable with it. I don't have to be ego-driven and have this mindset that if you were my student, things were great. Nah, not necessarily the case. But do you have the willingness, and a better word would be the audacity, to be honest with the person in your mirror? That matters because that's how you grow. If you can't be honest and instead you faking the funk, not with a public audience, but you faking the funk with yourself, you playing games with your own mind, then how you gonna grow? Because as you playing games and tricks with your own mind, you thinking you something you're not. Because you have deceived yourself. So you've got to make sure that if you're not going to be honest with anybody else, be honest with the person that shows up in your mirror. That matters. Hey, y'all, I'm done. I got a big session today. So let me bring up my guest. And we're gonna talk about a few things here. Here she is. Let me adjust that screen. There we go. I got my former student, middle and high school, Ivana Wade, in the building. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Great to see you.
Ditto. I'm excited.
Yeah. I haven't seen you in person in a few years. I think since we were at Stalin School one day.
It's been a while.
Yeah. But we stay connected nevertheless, right? So good stuff. Let me share with the people who you are in this short bio you sent that doesn't capture everything, but we gonna go with it. A whole lot of people saying good morning to you. I see on there. Ivana joined Curriculum Associates in 2019. Is currently the director of professional learning, serving New York City and New Jersey. Yvonna is a proud alumnus of Georgetown University, where she received her Bachelor of Arts in Government with a minor in Theology. Yvonna's educational journey began as a Teach for America Corp member in Newark, New Jersey, where she taught elementary and middle school and math in Newark, New Jersey. She is passionate and committed to providing students in urban communities with an equitable, high-quality education. Ivana has over a decade of experience in education and educational leadership. She holds advanced degrees from Johns Hopkins University and Grand Canyon University, as well as professional certificates from Harvard University and the University of Cape Town, South Africa. In her spare time, she enjoys traveling the world and embarking upon new adventures with her close friends and family. And if any of you are out there at the ASCD conference in DC, which I'll be at in a few hours from now, that's where she is right now. Right? Let's jump into it, Ivana. Let me just tell the audience real quick, as I typically call the fam. Fam, we're gonna do this in two parts. We're gonna do the normal conversation that I have with my guests, but I want to do something different. This is my former student. I met her in 8th grade. I met her at a time when I was at my lowest point as a principal. I've shared this on here multiple times with you all. No, I haven't shared the whole story. I've given you little bits and pieces of the story. But I met her during that time when I was at my worst. So I felt she was probably one of the most appropriate people for me to have this sort of conversation, because I want to be transparent with y'all. I want to be vulnerable. I want to hear what Ivana has to say on a few things. But first, let's learn a little bit about her. You know, Ivana, it's incredible to me to have you here. You know, this is a platform that, you know, we talk about leadership for these folks in leadership, but sometimes it's easy to lose sight of the fact that your former students are growing up and they're adults. So why wouldn't I have the former student now that the former student is adult? But it didn't dawn on me until recently that I need to be moving in that direction as well. So here you are. So some of my other formers, they'll be on here at another point, particularly those that would be in education. So with that, I'm just curious, what thoughts flow through your mind being on this platform today with your former principal, middle and high school?
Oh, it's so humbling. It's exciting in one vein, but humbling in another, because I tell you all the time, along with so many others, I am in education because of you. And I don't say that in a cliche way. I don't say it just to stroke your ego. I truly enter education because of my experience with you in middle and high school. So to watch everything come full circle is heartfelt for me, but also humbling. And I think speaks to the work that you preach to for 204 episodes.
Yeah. And I do some preaching.
Yes,
Yeah,
you do.
and
Some things never change.
It's my former student. I've been preaching for a long time, right? I remember one time I see Miss Smith on here, Dr. Deetria Smith Sneed, and I remember one time I was somewhere speaking. She was there. This was after, I think, she was on my staff, and when I finished, she said to me, "I miss this, man."
We need the energy.
Yeah. All right, let's go. So you and I both are products of East Orange. I grew up there. You grew up there. For me, let me speak for me first briefly. I was molded and shaped by East Orange. I bleed East Orange. I wear East Orange on both sleeves. I am East Orange. I live in Jersey City. I've lived in Jersey City for 35 years, but I don't claim it the way I do East Orange, right? East Orange is me. So with that said, I want to ask you, in what ways, if any, did East Orange mold and shape Ivana Wade? East Orange, New Jersey, for the folks out there that don't know what state I mean.
Yes. East Orange is where I developed my voice. East Orange is where I learned that I could be an advocate. East Orange is where my entire family is born and bred, and I had no intention of leaving. East Orange is where I returned after college and bought my first home because I intended to run for council. East Orange is where I'm invested, and I think every single last experience has contributed to who I am now. So if I had to narrow it down to one sentence, East Orange is where I learned that my circumstances don't define my destiny, and they have very little influence on where I go. So we can talk about all the negative things associated with East Orange, but all of those things literally were the bricks that built who I am. So very similar, like it is in my blood. It is who I am. It is where I plan to stay, but it is literally the weaves that have woven this fabric of me.
Wow.
I can't leave.
And you know, it's interesting because a lot of East Orangites, a lot of EO heads, they feel the same way.
Yep.
You know, it's you know, once you live there, you've been there, it's who you are. And my mother's on right now. She's also a product of East Orange, graduated from East Orange High School back in the 50s, and she's East Orange, you know. So I want to ask this other one, and I'm gonna put this one on the screen because I got it's multi-layered. As an educator, who is Ivana Wade? But I want to add to that, what is your purpose, your passion, your mission, your vision relative to your work?
Mm. As an educator, Ivana is someone who wants every child to see the potential in themselves and know that there's truly no limits to what they can do. I've lived it, I feel it, I believe it. My purpose is funny, has changed as my career path has changed. My purpose is to make sure that every educator that I touch paths with or come across also understands the potential that they're in their students every single day that they walk into a classroom.
Mm.
I'm passionate about equitable education because I believe with quality education, literally options are limitless. And it's my story, and I've lived it, I felt it. It's literally I wake up every single day and think about it. That's what I'm passionate about. My mission is to make sure that every teacher in every black, brown, white neighborhood goes into a classroom every single day and gives their students 110%, knowing that that's what they deserve, nothing less.
Wow.
So that drives the work I do now, but that's what I'm most passionate about.
I love it. I love it. What's your vision?
My vision is to make sure that every teacher gives 110% of who they are every single time they walk into a classroom.
Yeah, I want you to say that again because I want to use that. A fam out there. The bottom line is it's about what that teacher's doing in that classroom. You know that. And your relationship with that teacher is immeasurable. So you got to make sure that with that experience that youngster is having in that classroom is an optimal experience if that youngster is going to be able to blossom into an Ivana Wade, right? So let's transition. Let's like I said to the folks that may have tuned in after I made that announcement, we gonna be a little bit vulnerable right now. I am anyway. I'm gonna ask Ivana some questions that she doesn't know are coming her way. I didn't share any of these. It is 9 questions, and then we're gonna go to the other part of our leadership conversation. Hey, Alima. So Ivana, inquiring minds want to know, and let me get this off the screen real quick. That's not what I want to do. Where we at? Here we go. All right. Inquiring minds want to know, Ivana. As a principal, who was Principal Kafele?
If
By the way, you had me for grade 8, 10, 11, and 12. Right. So I want to put that out there for the folks. 8, and you could kind of say 9 in a different realm. And then 10, 11, and 12. Go ahead.
If I had to make a comparison, which I hate to do, if you've ever watched Lean on Me, that was my experience in middle and high school. So who was Principal Kafele? You were your students' cheerleaders. You were your staff's cheerleader, biggest cheerleader. You were a father. You were a drill sergeant. You were a man that held incredibly high expectations, but knew that we could get there. You were a man of reason and logic and care of concern, and you balanced those 4 things beautifully. You were a listening ear. You also were one that we knew wouldn't hesitate to give consequences where consequences were deserved, and praise and kudos where those were deserved. I know you hear this often, but I don't know if you really realize the impact, but you were a father to people who have never known what that felt like, including myself, until you and Stallings came along. So if I had to name you, those were all the things you were to me, and so many others that I know share the same sentiments.
Wow. I
And
love
I said I can't cry because I can't have my lashes coming off before I go to work.
it.
Many of the things you are to me.
I can't cry either. You know, as you reflect back on your experience of being my student, Principal Kafele, within your current capacity as a seasoned educator, watch this. Where did Principal Kafele get it wrong? I told you I'm being vulnerable, y'all. I'm being transparent. Where did I get it wrong, Yvonna?
I wouldn't say you got it wrong. I would say this is where the politics of education continuously get it wrong. In urban neighborhoods, we oftentimes hold on to teachers that do not belong in front of students. And we all know it. And sometimes there are technicalities, there's tenure, there's red tape that keep them there. But there were teachers I can think of that were in front of me who should not have been. So if I had to sum it up, it would be taking too long to get the wrong people off the bus, but understanding the red tape that goes behind that.
I love it. Let me holler at the fam now. We're talking about a student who obviously as a youngster is in a mindset of a youngster. But now we're talking about that same youngster as an adult and now can reflect back on the experience. I'm modeling this for somebody out here who may not have the courage to do so yourself, right? I'm doing it on a live stream platform that's going to be here, that's going to outlive me, right? I don't have a problem with that, right? So I know I got some things wrong, but I wanted my former student to talk about it. Now watch how I flip this question. Same question as you reflect back on your experiences as a student of me within your current capacity of a seasoned educator. Where did Principal Kafele get it right?
You got it right. You were honest and open with me about what success looks like and the unpretty side to it. So you were honest with me about when you go to college, you may be the only person that looks like you in a classroom, but you still have the potential and you still deserve to be there. You explained to me very early on that when you do leave East Orange or spaces like East Orange, it gets real lonely. And you begin to operate in a circle. You don't have the same friends anymore. You don't have the same network. Things begin to change. And you said all these things to me. And that in the moment, it didn't make sense. But when I was in it, now it all makes sense. And that's the part about like care and concern that people don't think through, because sometimes people don't prepare you for what's next. I never had someone go to college to explain to me what my experience would look like or how life would be different. But I was prepared because of the conversations that weren't written into a curriculum. They weren't part of a program, but they were real life conversations that you sat down and had with me to prepare me for what was next.
Love it. Love it. So if Ivana Wade had school-aged children, would Ivana Wade feel comfortable with them in a school led by Principal Kafele?
Absolutely.
That
No
was
doubt in my mind. Yes. But
Ivana,
even home with you.
Okay. Ivana, I was an outspoken teacher. You didn't know me then, but I was and got myself into stuff at times. And then as a principal, it escalated, and I was outspoken, and I got myself into trouble, suspension, termination hearing, defamed in the media, all that kind of stuff. And here you were, one of many students, and you supported me, right? You had graduated, but you came back during that year of turmoil, which was 20 years ago, 2004, and you supported me in a mighty way, along with the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders and the staff. Here's my question. With the stuff I was dealing with, and you being familiar with what I was dealing with, why support your principal?
Mm-hmm. Once you have a taste of the best, it's hard to settle for anything less. So with you in my middle school years, I had a principal that was concerned, that cared, that told us that we had the potential to do everything, but showed it. That showed up every single day. I don't think you ever even took a day off. That was outside shaking hands. And like we knew what we had in front of us. We knew what the consequence of having you was, and that was performance. Why would I not advocate to have that, knowing that that is what I deserve and what my peers deserve? I think when you show up in an authentic way and people realize and experience your value, we'll fight for it. I would fight for it. So that is why I stood where I stood and advocated to have you back.
I love it. I love it. That was to the fam out there. I'm gonna do a whole little quasi documentary on that year, because I think that there's a lot of people out here grappling with a lot of stuff in leadership. And I want to tell you my story, and I want to share with you how I was able to defeat it and ultimately win the Milken Award when I got to North Tech, which is one of the highest awards an educator could receive. Because see, if I had let it break me to the point where I couldn't do this anymore, then I would have never had the opportunity to taste the Milken Award, nor taste whatever accomplishments I made during those days, but also just taste the ability to do this Saturday Academy every Saturday. I wouldn't have the credibility to do it. So it matters, right? So I want to put that information out there, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out here that will either see this, who are either on live or will see this later. And I think they're going to benefit immensely from me sharing that story 20 years later. Right. So Ivana, what impressions? And I got like two more, and then we go to our leadership talk. What impressions did my leadership make on you regarding whether or not my expectations for students were high?
Mm-hmm. I didn't think you never lowered them. So it's like, if the bar was set high, it never changed. And eventually students are going to rise to whatever you hold them accountable for and whatever you set as the bar. So your consistency is the impression that I still leave. It's literally, I think that's where I learned consistency. If you say and do the same thing every single day, we would fall in line. If you say and tell a student every single day that they're going to be something, that is what they grow up and believe. If you say and do every single day and show a child that they are cared for, that they are loved, that there is something beyond these walls, then that is what falls in line. So your consistency is the impression that led to the expectations. I never walked away thinking that I couldn't achieve the things that you said I would. I did. We did. Our class did. Healy did. And that just gave me the proof that I needed to continue on and do the same things repeatedly.
Great stuff.
Thank you for being a consistent leader.
I appreciate, I pride, let's stay there for a second. I pride myself on my consistency. That is who I am. I say all the time, and I say it to my wife particularly, I don't look at myself and say that I've got these great leadership skills. That's not the way I pride myself. I pride myself on the ability to inspire, the ability to stay focused, the ability to use the word you just word to remain consistent, the ability to know my lane and to stay in it, as opposed to trying to do things over here like other people do it. I know where I'm strong, and I'll maximize myself in that lane. So I'm saying that because I'm talking to the fam out there, that you got to find your lane. You got to find your groove, so to speak. And then you got to maximize within it. Because when we try to be great in everything and not utilize, we got greatness around us. So we don't have to replicate that. We got people. So it boils down to how we tap into others that have a skill set you don't have, as opposed to you trying to be great in everything, which is almost impossible, right? So keep that in mind, folks. I got one more, because I said three, but the second one, you answered the second one without me asking it. This is real vulnerable, Ivana. I saved this for last. Former student, now an educator, which is inclusive of working with leaders. How could Principal Kafele have been more effective than he was?
If you go back, that is my only answer. If you go back into the schools, we need you. We need more of you. And you need to continue to touch students the way that you touched me and so many others. If there were 10 of you, is my only answer.
Wow. Henry Hamilton. You know Henry?
Yes,
Mr. Hamilton?
yes.
Henry Hamilton is my inspiration in terms of that thought that enters my mind to go back, because Henry Hamilton just turned 85. He'll be on here with me April 6th, right? He was my principal when I was in middle school, and then everyone knows he was Whitney Houston's principal. And when I see that man at 85 still walking into that building, I'm only 63. I say, I'm gonna get tired of these airplanes at some point. Maybe I'll go back and one of my main goals will be just to train people up, man. Bring in APs, train them up, get them ready. Like John Calipari that coaches Kentucky, that probably needs to coach somewhere else at this point. But the one and dones come in freshman year. Now let me get you in the NBA, right? One of my dreams is just this heavy duty focus on assistant principals, but not just on this platform. But I see you dead alone is with what you just said, man. So I'm not even gonna put that on the screen, right? So, but it's like, if I could make folks great, including the young people, I don't want to lose sight of them, but them APs, you coming in fresh out the classroom, and I can pour into you, and now you're ready to become a principal, and I could do that till I'm 85, like Henry Hamilton. that would be a beautiful thing. That would be a beautiful thing.
You just told us.
You understand that alone. That's my brother. That's my brother. So I'm just proud of what's happening in North Tech right now, man. You couldn't have a better leader there. That's my brother. That's my brother. All right. Let's see. Let's jump into some things here. Ivana, let me shift my mind now. I want to, into the fam out there. Yeah, this was just a little something. I could have spent the whole session just throwing those kind of questions, but I just wanted to give you a taste, because sometimes we don't even see vulnerability. Like, we don't see that in our colleagues. We know what it is, but we don't actually see it. Like, give a former student a platform. Like, give it to me. Let me know, right? We don't, I don't even know that that's normal. Right. I know some of us will do the little survey. We'll survey our kids about certain things, but it may not be things such as, where did I get it wrong? Right. How could I have done it better? Those types of things. So, but I would certainly encourage everybody on the platform, give it a shot. You don't have to wait till they're former. You might be able to do it while they're current. Right. But certainly the former is going to have a certain level of maturity and experience with life that the current student's not going to have. So I would certainly encourage it. I'm gonna bring some more on here, and we're gonna do some similar things, because again, I just want to use it as a tool to connect with many of you out there. So I asked Ivana for some talking points, and we're gonna jump into them now. So that first one, you said how can principals and APs build advocates by embracing and encouraging student voices? Let's go hard on that one. What are you saying?
So I'm thinking about how principals and APs build opportunities for students to express exactly what you just said, things that aren't fitting or working for them, suggestions and changes that they would like to see to make their educational experience more engaging or more suitable for them. And I think about, I learned to advocate for myself through my time in middle school and high school. And it was primarily because I think you did an amazing job at fostering dialogues when anytime there was a school level decision that would directly impact us. So you had asked us our input on teachers. We had conversations about curriculum. We talked about the things that would impact us and how it made us feel. And we may not have driven every single decision, but those spaces were created. And I felt at moments that I was a partner with the people in my school building and not just receiving things that were handed down. So even in my work today, I would encourage principals and assistant principals to think about, how are you leveraging the voices of the students who are impacted by your decisions to be a part of that decision-making process, where they feel invested and feel like they have impact on the things that are trying to move them. I think you're never too young. You're like to voice your opinion, and that gives us a voice as we become professionals to advocate for ourselves in professional settings or corporate settings where we may have felt muted before.
Yeah, I like that word you felt muted before. You know, I want to stay on this one for a little while.
Yeah.
While you were speaking, I brought up a presentation that I do. And it's an equity presentation, but it's got this portion of it called student voice.
Mm-hmm.
And in the whole equity conversation, Ivana, there's so much confusion around this word. It actually showed up in your bio. There's so much confusion around this word that people are afraid of it. They run from it. They break world record sprints getting away from it because they don't know what it is, right? And a part of the problem is there's a zillion different definitions out there. So depending on who one reads, studies, or listens to, that'll be what they internalize. And that's the problem. We don't have commonality with this definition. But I say, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I want to set this up. I say this is just me, that there is no equity conversation without these three pillars that I call. I say student individuality. Like don't lump me in with everybody else. I'm me and I'm unique and ain't nobody else on the planet quite like me, right? And that's for everybody. Number two, student racial, ethnic, cultural identity. Like if I'm walking into the classroom as a youngster, as a Black boy, don't deny that. Don't suppress that. I'm a Black boy from this city, right? So don't pretend to make life convenient for you that I'm just one of your babies, right? I'm just one of your children, one of your students. No, acknowledge the fact that that I'm a Black boy and I thereby will have a Black reality. Because if that's suppressed, then I'm not going to know how to navigate these streets when I get older, because I didn't have folks in my life who were helping me to navigate it, particularly my teacher, the professional educator. I'm getting ready to turn it over to you in a second. And then the third one is what you just articulated, student voice. See, I can't have an equity conversation with anybody if we're not talking student individuality, student racial, ethnic, cultural identity, and student voice. Those three areas matter. To the fam, write those three down, right? They matter. Is there more to the conversation? Yes, but I can weave everything into the three, everything, right? So with that, I want to share this with you, and then I want to hear from you, Ivana. I broke this student voice down into 5 student perspectives. Number 1, I said respect and appreciate my voice because it is a verbal expression of who I am. Let me read it again. Respect and appreciate the word my in capital letters, my voice, because it is a verbal expression of who I am. What does that statement say to Ivana Wade in your capacity of educator? And you can also talk about it in your capacity as a youngster.
I'm going to think youngster. This resonates a lot with me in my professional career right now, but acknowledge that I am who I am by listening to what I say, and don't discredit what I say. Don't summarize and retell what I say. Hear what I say and think about how that is a representation of me as a person. I think that's part of how you actually see the people that's in front of you, by just listening to what they say. As a high school and middle school child, I don't feel like I was forced in a box of who I should be. I felt like I was able to say who I was, say what I wanted, say how I felt, and that was validated. And it was like, okay, we got who you are. Look, let's move forward. Not, oh, this is who you need to be if this is where you want to go. So I think it's recognizing what students say and understanding and accepting that that's who they are without trying to change them or sway them or convince them to be other. As a professional, I'll go here. I am a Black woman in corporate America, and I am practicing how I show up in my most authentic self through my voice, through my experiences, and want that to lend that to like my own work. So I don't want to become something else. I don't want to say something that is not aligned to who I am. So I am practicing using my student voice to make sure I'm always representing myself in my most authentic way, regardless of how it's perceived.
Man, I love that. I love that. Let's now I want to stay there.
Yes.
You use that word authentic voice. My authentic voice is what got me into trouble.
Mine too.
But I got to tell you and the fam out there, folks, I don't regret any of that. I just told you that I had a rough time, but you didn't hear me say I regret it. And if I had the chance to do it over, I'd do it differently. I wouldn't. I'd do it the exact same way. Right? Do I have a little more wisdom now that it's 20 years later? Yeah, I guess. But when I reflect back on it, and people like my wife know, I reflect back on 2004 every day of my life. And I don't mean that in a mental illness way, right? I reflect back on it because it makes me think of from whence I came, right? So it fuels me. But I'm saying this to you, and then I'm gonna turn it back to Ivana. Ivana used the language authentic voice. I know we can't be who we are when we're in our living rooms. I get that. I know we can't be who we are when we're with our homies. I get that. But there's a professional us. Mm-hmm. And that professional us, you have to define what that is, what it looks like, what it feels like, right? I define my professional me. Some of you have seen me speak. Maybe many of you have seen me speak on a regular basis, frequently or often, at least one time. And you know, I don't go up there trying to be scholarly and stuffy and and speak the King's English. I don't do it on here. I can, but then I'm not being my authentic me. I gotta be me. I haven't worn a tie in 3 years because that wasn't me. I had agenda for wearing a tie, but I'm not working in schools anymore, so I don't have that same agenda, right? So I don't like ties. I don't understand ties. So I don't wear ties. I walk in these places. I'm in some pretty prestigious places that I speak, and I come in there with this collar open, and I'm the opening keynote. I'm important, and I'm coming in as I am. That look is a part of my voice. Ivana, what are your thoughts about that adult that's trying to be them, but trying to maintain their professional self, but wanting to be self at the same time? What do you think?
Oh, this one is rough because this is what I'm working on right now. I'll say this. I'll say being able to recognize moments in my past where my voice was heard and recognized and accepted makes it easier for me to show up in my authentic self now. Had I not had those experiences, I would be struggling even more than I am now. But I won't lie. I mean, you and I had this conversation. Like, it was a difficult transition for me trying to figure this part out. But I am who I am. I deserve to be who I am, and that's how I'm showing up every single day. And it's a non-negotiable for me, but it's rough.
Yeah. No, I understand. I understand. In terms of just me being principal and then making that transition to full-time presenter, I once again, I had to I grappled with it. Like I gotta be me.
Yep.
I'm not trying to be, and I'm gonna say this way, and this is me talking, Ivana, and people you're associated with. This is not you. I don't want to morph into a white version of myself. I want to bring my blackness to my work and be respected and appreciated for that. Right? I don't want to morph into this prototype that someone may expect of me, either on a stage or leading a school or leading a district. Right? Let me be what I was born to be. And you, person working with me or in my audience, understand me, that I'm just me. Let me have my voice. Don't penalize me for wanting to maintain my voice. So for youngster out there in the classroom, it's the same thing. I mean, I'm not going to expect the youngster to be in the classroom cussing and carrying on. But I do want the youngster, I don't want the youngster to be penalized for being who that youngster is. I want to help youngster to grow and evolve, yes.
Yep.
But in terms of his racial, ethnic, cultural identity, I don't want to suppress that because I don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be student now so that I come into an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, you spot on. And I think about, I just had a memory come to mind, and I was in a school and a student was talking to his mom about how the teacher kept correcting his grammar. And they didn't understand the correction because this is how they spoke at home. So I just thought about like the identity and the code switching and what that does for a child and their own understanding of identity and that how it perpetuates as a professional. So no, that just hit home on so many levels for me, but I resonate. I want to show up as my Ivana from East Orange, and yes, I'm smart, and yes, I'm articulate, and yes, I'm all of these things, but I'm also a Black woman that carries experiences that I don't want to shed at the door when I go into other spaces. It's work no one speaks of, but it's real work.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let me go to my second one. I got 5 altogether. This one says, assist me. This is under student voice. With developing my voice, inclusive of my communication skill, because its utilization is an invaluable lifelong necessity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I got to North Tech, and Mr. Andrews can attest to this, I know he's on here. We put a lot into helping youngsters develop a voice by putting a microphone in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how shy you were. This is doing our young men's empowerment. I don't care how shy you were, how introverted you were. You don't know what the next 10, 20, 30 years are going to look like. And if we could play a role in assisting you with developing your voice, which is including oratorically, it's a lifelong skill you'll have forever. I'm an introvert, but people don't know that. I'm shy, but people don't know that. But I developed this communication skill that I'm able to mask it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what are your thoughts about what schools should be doing under the leadership, because we're a leadership audience,
Mm-hmm.
for ensuring that youngsters have opportunity to develop their voice inclusive of their communication skill because of the implications of what that means later on in life?
I love this question. I would think about what opportunities are there for students to actually engage in conversations. So, for example, we argue at my company that if a classroom is quiet, then students aren't learning. If a classroom is quiet, then students are not being set up to have conversations as adults or as high school students or whatever the case may be, where they can communicate their thoughts. So I think about how many times I would sit in a classroom and it was pen to paper or listening to someone talk, and how many times I had thoughts in my head that never came out to have a conversation with my teacher. So I would challenge principals and APs to think about when they go in classrooms, who's doing the talking? Whoever's doing the talking is oftentimes the one doing the learning. And if kids are not engaged in conversations on a day-to-day basis, they don't know how to use their voice, or they're not developing the skills to use their voice to advocate or share their thoughts and opinions. And when we think about what that means in a professional career, is that there be students like me initially, where I'm sitting down, I'm always taking information in, but I don't feel like I have the space or I'm in the space where I can say something back. So I think about, like, if I'm in an ELA classroom, am I sitting and getting information? Am I questioning the text? Am I expressing my opinion, my thoughts? Am I challenging the ideas of my teachers or even the writer? Like, how many opportunities are embedded into day-to-days where students are actually talking?
You said something and it resonated with me, and apparently it resonated with Miss Stoddard as well. You said the one that's doing the talking is probably the one that's doing all the learning. Let's stay there, because we got a leadership audience, and it's very easy, Ivana. And by the way, to the audience out there, those who may have checked in late, my guest is my former student. This young lady was my student in grade 8. She fought for me in grade 9, and then she was my student again in grade 10, 11, and 12. So my guest is my former student today. How about that? right? So let's stay there with that comment you made.
Mhm.
Hey, leader out there. It's easy, especially when you're a new leader. You're coming out of the classroom, coming out of counseling, whatever you're doing, and now here you are, a leader. You go into a classroom, the teacher's dominating the discussion, and it really looks good because the students are sitting there quiet, right? So it appears like good stuff.
Mhm.
Talk to us about, based on your comment, talk to us about what it probably really is.
Mhm. It probably is a classroom where students' voices are oppressed. It probably is a classroom where a teacher feels successful based on their level of knowledge and what they can give and not what students are giving back. It's probably a classroom where no one is paying attention. It's probably a classroom where students will grow up and won't remember half of what they heard, but more of what they said. So it's probably a classroom where APs and principals should be concerned.
Yeah, wow. And when we talk about that communication skill, you obviously have it, and you stand before microphones, and you're still a baby. You've got so much life ahead of you. The sky's the limit. You got all those certifications, you got all those degrees, etc. But right there at your core, you're an orator. You know how to communicate. And as I've said umpteen times in my life, one could not have the credentials that you have because you've got far more than I have, right? So one could not have the credentials that you have, but have the gift of oratory. And that gift of oratory can open up doors that the one with all the degrees and certificates cannot open.
Amen.
A lot of my journey, particularly interviewing, was not because of my credentials nor my experience. I knew how to get through them interviews. And that's why I made all these interview videos on YouTube to show people, and you can get the job too if you know how to interview,
Yep.
right? So that communication is key. Let me go to this third one. It says, help me to develop the courage, hear that word, the courage to use my voice on social justice issues, because I need to be able to articulate the concerns of the world around me. Without any commentary from me, Ivana, speak to that one.
Oh boy. Um, I'll give an example. I could think back to my 12th grade year, and I was in an advanced math class, and I just knew that it wasn't me or it wasn't the students, but it was how the math was being taught. And I thought that it was race aligned. I felt like my teacher was not invested in believing that Black kids could learn trigonometry. And I remember walking down to your office and be like, Mr. Kafele, this person has got to go. Like I'm not dumb. I'm trying my hardest. It is the investment is not working. And I remember you sitting there, you put your hand on your head and you were a little stressed. But you listened to me, and I had to state my case and give examples, but you listened. But that led to a conversation with that individual, but it also led to a change in practice and how they taught. And I remember walking away or graduating from high school, and I would have not had the same experience, which opened up other doors in my 12th grade math class if I didn't speak about the things that were difficult to hear and difficult to say. You didn't punish me. I mean, there was probably some ramifications, but I didn't feel like there was a consequence attached. But I also felt an obligation to say it for my own sake and the sake of others. So that wouldn't be true if there wasn't a space for me or open door policy across the school to talk about any and everything. So when thinking about leadership, I'll circle back and say, like, if a student is in your building, do they feel as if saying the right thing will end them in the wrong place, or if saying whatever will at least allow them to be heard? And I am thankful for a space where I felt like I could express whatever logical opinion I had, and it would at least be heard. Um, so those are the hard conversations to have, but those were the necessary ones if I was to advocate for my future and what I needed as a student.
That's powerful stuff. That's powerful stuff. So I want to go back to that quote I read to you. Help me to develop the courage to use my voice. Let me stop it right there. That's exactly what you did.
Yep.
You use your voice, but you didn't start using your voice in grade 12.
No.
Because you were using your voice on my behalf when you were a youngster, right? So I've known you that way for a long time. I want to pose a question to the fam out there with the mirror up, and then I want to turn it back over to you. Is student voice, talking to you, fam, is student voice a part of your repertoire? Does it fall under your leadership that we are helping students to develop the courage? Because see, what Ivana was talking about in that classroom, that's a social justice issue. So is that welcomed in your building? Is that welcome under your leadership, that a student can voice what the student perceives as an injustice? Or is that being suppressed? Asked differently, fam, does that have a place in school or even your school? Or is that out of bounds? Right? Because we're not talking, and Ivana made this clear, we're not talking disrespect. We're just talking the courage to be able to use your voice. Ivana, what are your thoughts in terms of what a leader might do to ensure that we're doing the things we should be doing to encourage that youngster who may not have the courage to utilize this gift that they were born with called voice?
Yeah. I think top of mind, modeling the behavior we want to see in students. So if a student observes you having a difficult conversation, whether it's whole group, whether it's one-on-one with a staff member, if we see that our leader is capable of doing those things, we become a little bit more brave to do it ourselves. We become a little bit more open to sort of testing the waters. I can think about where my courage came from, and I see it very clearly. One morning during the morning announcements, you talked about Malcolm X. And at this point, I mean, we all knew who Malcolm X was, but I didn't think about it. But for a month or so, there was this trend about how you fight for what's right and you say what you need to say. And what's the worst thing that could happen, right? Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And then I was like, oh, what's the worst thing that could happen? I'm going to start speaking up for myself. And then nothing but positive things started to happen. I felt refreshed that I got the feelings out. Sometimes they were changed, maybe sometimes they weren't. But I remember it was the moment of exposing us to instances where it worked that I became more susceptible to trying. So I would say, as a principal or AP, model using your voice, especially in critical situations, so that students become more apt or more open to trying it themselves. If all we hear from our principal is like sunshine and rainbows, then we're never going to talk about the difficult things. But when you're on an intercom telling us that our state assessment says we might be closed next year and we have a problem, then I'll be more open to talking about the difficult things as well.
Yeah. And you know, you saying that, I remember, high school is one thing, but I remember when I was a middle school principal, Healy and Sojourner Truth Middle, and I would put graphs up on the in the auditorium. And I know a lot of folks would not feel comfortable with this for a variety of reasons, but I did, and because I was being my authentic self. So I put the scores of the urban districts in New Jersey on the screen. I wanted them to see, because I didn't want these false senses of security and hope that we're doing just fine. And then I put the test scores in a bar graph of the suburban districts in New Jersey. And I wanted the students to see the difference so that my message would make more sense, that you're just as bright as them, but we're not performing as them. I want you to see what they're doing. And the way I felt about the response, I felt like students were hearing that because they'd never seen it before. So now I'm able to use that to build and to build and to build. So it matters. And then now we can have different kinds of conversations, because now they have better knowledge of their reality than they had if I was one that's let me sweep this under the rug, so that they don't realize what the stakes are, right? Exactly. I ain't sweeping nothing under the rug. We gonna put it out on Front Street, as they say, and then we'll go with it. So let me go to this next one. Still on student voice. So if I'm doing a workshop, these 5 bullet points I'm giving you, this could last me like 2 hours easily. It says, coach me on the art of public speaking. Because I need to be able to use my voice to speak to the masses. Let me tell you something before I turn it over to you, Ivana. We used to do these, Mel, as you would know, the Young Men's Empowerment Program. And I would watch youngsters who came into me as freshmen, sophomores. By the time they were seniors, and we had the seniors speaking to the sixth graders all the time, I mean, the ninth graders all the time, man, it would just do my heart wonders to see the confidence that that shy kid would have now, standing at that microphone and speaking truth to power. I'm gonna give you an example because I saw his name on the Facebook thread earlier. Reginald Bledsoe,
Mhm.
right? And Reggie knows I talk about him publicly all over America, so I'm not, I'm not out of bounds on this. So to see Reggie come in as a freshman and then to see him as a senior and the way he commanded the room, I said, man, that's that skill. But then to see what he's done since then, whether it be liaison between the commissioner in the New Jersey State Assembly, or vice president of the North Board of Education, or aide to Lieutenant Governor, the late great Sheila Oliver, or director of LGBTQ affairs in Essex County. And all of those positions require that oratorical skill. And to know that he has mastered that he can speak to any audience, that's the point. And I had him in my mind when I created this bullet point many, many years ago. Talk and then yourself, the same thing, and so many others. And one of the sad things, Ivana, is the volume of people who do not realize the power in oratory.
Agreed.
Many of us don't know that. We don't realize that door you're trying to walk through, if you just knew how to express yourself better.
Yep.
So that mattered to me. Talk to me about your thoughts on just that having that skill of public speaking and the ability to speak to the masses.
Oh, it's invaluable. But I have two thoughts in mind. And one is, I'll start off with the AP and principles. So this is where I would highly encourage you to take a deeper look at your curriculum that you are putting in front of your students. And more specifically, like, what does discourse look like on a day-to-day basis that helps students build their public speaking skills? And this is also part of what keeps me in my company, because this is core to what we do, making sure that students talk about math so that they can build the sentence stems, that they build their confidence, that they know how to speak and speak in a way that people listen, and logically. So I would encourage principals and APs to deep dive. Where does student voice and discourse come into your day-to-day curriculum so that students are building these habits on a regular? I want to shout out Plainfield, and because this is where we've done some work and we've seen the evolution of discourse across their K-5 systems and how impactful it is if you stay consistent with these routines.
Tell them what state.
Plainfield, New Jersey. So I know there's some admin on from the district, and it's been tremendous to watch Black and brown kids develop discourse around math and other core subjects. So huge shout out to you guys. From a personal level, public speaking was something that you were very honest would get me a long way. So it's a place that I spent a lot of time developing this skill. So I personally have done a ton, and like outside of my school, I was a part of the New Jersey All-Stars with Reginald that pushed the power of speaking and how to be confident in front of any audience, but starting from a place of you deserve to be there. Now let's develop the skill. But even in my current role, it's literally all I do. But being able to talk to people and being able to get your message across is probably the most impactful thing that one can do. Doesn't matter how smart you are. Doesn't matter your degrees. But if you can move a room with your words, you will get 10 times farther than if you're sitting silent in the background, which is why student voice was at the top of my talking points. If we teach students how to talk or how to communicate effectively, we would alleviate so many other issues that we know rise in the future. So
Yeah. And you see, you started off with student voice, as you said, and you see how much discussion that we've had. We've been talking about student voice for 40 minutes, right? And it's there's a lot there. There's a lot there, and that's why I say there is no equity conversation. if we're not talking student voice in the process. It's got to be. Let me throw this one more at you. This I love this one, and I saved this one for the end. Support me with finding my voice, because I need to be able to walk in my purpose. Now, in this case, obviously, I'm not using voice the same way. Now I'm using voice synonymous with the word purpose. And you know that a lot of young people can go through school pre-K to 12 without ever having found their voice. And then they can go through life until they transition and never found that thing here or here that can help, will enable me to be able to walk into my purpose. Finding one's voice. Hey, Yvonna, as an educator, I found my voice, man.
Yep.
I mean, people that know my work, y'all know I'm excited about life. I mean, I make that very, very public. I'm excited about waking up in the morning. I can't do 8 hours of sleep. I don't know what that is, because I'm too excited about getting up in the morning and starting my day in my voice. And I just wish the rest of the world could find their voice and be happy. Talk to us.
How are you talking to students? So I would just think like something as simple as asking students questions to help them think, can help them define their purpose and their voice. There are oftentimes, I think about like my role as a dean of students, and a teacher would send a student down. And I was like, well, did you ask them what was wrong? Oh, no. Did you ask them, like, do we ask students anything beyond the curriculum? So asking purposeful, intentional questions can not only have students think and process their own thoughts, but begin for them to put the puzzle together, for them to figure out what things are important to them. So top of mind is like, how are we engaging with students in a purposeful way to dig deeper than like what we expect for them to learn? How are we helping them get to the core of like what they're figuring out on themselves? Because sometimes they can't articulate it. How many times have we asked a student a question? I don't know. So how are we intentionally and purposefully asking our students questions? If I'm reflecting back to the time with you in Stallings, we walked down the hallway and there were colorful posters with questions. Who are you? Who are you showing up today? What is your purpose? What is your vision? And I wouldn't think about these things on a day-to-day basis. But when I was walking to the bathroom and I saw, what's your vision? I started thinking, oh, what is my vision? Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know. What does vision mean? Maybe it's something I need to begin to think about. How many students have those questions asked to them on a day-to-day basis? How many times has a teacher looked a student in their face and said, what's your purpose? Not what you want to do, but what is your purpose?
Yeah.
So the power of questions. And I think it's just that simple. That sparks the conversation. It sparks thoughts. It did for me.
Let's stay with that one thing you just said. You said not what you want to do, but what is your purpose? As you know, they're not necessarily synonymous.
Definitely not.
What I want to be when I like the cliche. What do you want to be when you grow up? But that's not the same question.
Nope.
That's what is your why.
Nope.
See, so and I know people always say, the two most important days in your life, the day you were born and the day you find out why, right? Yep. And it makes sense. But finding one's why, and I'm gonna give this to you. It's not always something that one could do in isolation. Sometimes you need people to help you, or people just to inspire you or influence you, make an impression on you toward you finding what's inside of you. I had no desire to become an educator, zero.
Yep.
That wasn't on my radar. But when I read Malcolm, as you referenced before, and I read King, and I read Dr. Carter G. Woodson, I concluded I want to teach. So it wasn't anyone in my ear. It was what I was exposing myself to. And it's, I don't want to be the civil rights activist. I don't want to be the historian, but I do want to teach. And it helped me to find my why in 1988. And I've been walking in it since 1988. Let's look at you now, Ivana, along the same conversation. your trajectory, for those of us that know you, was law.
Correct.
That was your trajectory. You were going to be a lawyer. We thought you were going to be this big time civil rights attorney, right? Which is not too late, by the way. However, you transitioned into the education space and you seem to not only love it, but you're excelling at it and moving quickly within it.
Yes.
Talk to us about how you found that voice. Because
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Yes. This is where I'll probably cry. So yes, my intention was to be a lawyer. In my senior year in college, I volunteered at an agency here in DC, actually, that was an after school program for students with HIV and AIDS. And the students did not know that they were sick. So they would come here, and the goal was literally to make sure that they felt, one, loved and cared for, and the two, make sure that they stayed on track with their academics. And I volunteered for this program for my entire senior year. And then at the end of the program, a parent did not return to pick up their student. And they were just tired of dealing with all of the problems that come along, or the challenges that come along with having a sick child. And I remember that moment. And I remember saying, I lost my mother in middle school, and Miss Stoddard was a teacher who walked in and literally, for me, filled so many of those voids. And I was like, imagine if there were 1,000 of her who cared for their students the way that she cared for me, and gave me the fuel I needed in the way that we do for these students in front of us. So I was like, oh, maybe I want to do something with kids, but I never even thought about being a teacher. So I joined Teach for America. And I'm like, I'm going to try it out. Maybe I'll go to law school after. But I was adamant with Teach for America. I would only do it if I could be a teacher in East Orange or Newark. So they placed me back in Newark, and I stayed, and I've never left from there. When I left teaching, or left the public school system, I decided that teachers are the most impactful thing that moves students. We know it. It's true. There's no debate about it. How can I have a greater impact in what teachers do so that they have a greater impact in what students do? So in my current position, that's the work I do now. So we work to support teachers to make classrooms better. And I wouldn't pick a different career path. So law is what I was good at. That is something I would have excelled. I would have made a ton more money. But that is not my why. My why is the work that I discovered in education, and I never see myself leaving.
I'm with you. We're in the same space. It's interesting. Walking in my why has enabled me to be very comfortable financially.
Mm-hmm.
And being comfortable financially, thoughts enter my mind like, all right, why don't you start this business or that business, or turn my one-man show into a business? We had this conversation, in fact, last night, the program. But every time I have these thoughts and I try this, it's like, I can't because I'm so locked into what I do. See, a young man came up to me yesterday, one of my milking brothers. He said, Kafele, when you going to start the firm? Now I hear that all the time. When you going to start the firm and you got all of us under you, and then you don't have to do all this travel. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, I said, but I do hate the travel. I post that on social media so people know that. But I love what's on the other side of the travel, right? Like I'm here, and then I'll be driving in a couple hours to where you are to DC to speak at the conference. I love that part. I just don't love getting there. And then people say, well, why don't you do it virtual? Because I love my audience that I could look at, right? So, and the only reason I could last in this platform for 204 weeks is because of the people who show up on this thread I'm pointing to right now. Because I can see those comments, I feel like they're in the room with me. If I couldn't see all this, I couldn't do this. If this was like Zoom, I mean, you could see the chat, but it's a different layout. I don't know that I could last 204 weeks. Right? So I'm saying all that to say, I'm walking in the why because I found my voice, and my voice is right here. It ain't all this. It's just this thing right here. So, and I know with some of these, I've been putting you on the spot all morning, but you've been just fine. I got my little bat. You've been hitting it out the park,
I love
right? Let me ask you, talk to somebody out here about what shift they may need to make on Monday about ensuring that a part of the repertoire is helping children to find their voice.
In the very simplest way, I encourage you on Monday to talk to a child in a deeper way than you've done ever before. And it may simply be asking them, what are you excited about? What excites you most about being in this building? And starting from there. If they can't answer that question, then you have a problem. And then that is where you sort of can go from there. Ask them what would they like to be different tomorrow for them to feel like they're a contributing part of your community. Asking questions to get students to think deeply about their experiences will move the spirit and culture of your building in ways that you will never be able to replicate. So I would encourage you to start a dialogue with your students on Monday and dig deep.
Dig deep. I love it. I love it. Let's go to we only on the first bullet point. Let's go to this second one. Hey, y'all, hit that share button for me. Hit that retweet. Hit that repost. Tag somebody. Text somebody. Call somebody. Go to those Facebook leadership groups and principal leadership groups and share over there. Let folks know we are here. We are live. I've got my former student, Ivonna Wade, in the building. This is not her last time here either. It's just the first time, right? But she's in the building. She's all grown up now, though. I had her in grade 8, 10, 11, and 12. Now she's an education consultant, a professional developer, an education leader, doing her thing and speaking this morning with straight up authority, right? So let somebody know we are here. Number 2 says, while every principal's goal is that college is an option for all students, what are some of the things that no one tells you about being a first-generation high school and college graduate? I've been waiting to get to this one. What do you tell them?
Oh my God. So college is means to a world of opportunities. However, with a college education, especially as a first-generation graduate, whether it's high school and college, which is what I am, there is a space of loneliness. There is a space of obligation, and there is a space of guilt that comes with all of the bells and whistles. So what people don't tell you is that when you're a first-time graduate, things change. It's hard to find your circle because once your circumstances or your experiences change and you see life a little bit different, it's hard to go back to what you once was. That may mean it's challenging to connect with your family, your high school friends, and you don't share the same commonalities anymore, so it may be difficult to connect with them. And the road to where you're trying to go might not always be a comfortable one. The next thing that sort of high school could prepare us better for is that you may go into spaces that don't look like the spaces you're currently in, and you do not walk away. So again, going back to the student voice, like how do we embrace differences and how do we set students to be in spaces where they're uncomfortable? I almost dropped out of Georgetown my first year because I'd never been in a space where I was the only Black child or student continuously. One of the most uncomfortable years of my life. I think I called you, I called Stalin, I called everyone. I was ready to go. But I knew that educational opportunity will open up doors that I thought were for me. So I needed to stay. But they don't prepare you for that part. They don't prepare you for the loneliness. They don't prepare you. This is the first time I knew that there were other Black people who were rich. I did not know that until year 1. So my experience shifted, my perspective shifted, how I carried myself and engaged with people who I thought were similar to me but weren't, changed. And that was something I wasn't prepared to do. So in talking about college as this aspirational place where we want all our students to go, being honest about what you deal with when you're there may help keep students there. I mean, I don't know the statistic off the top of my head, but I know it's like more than 30% of students of color who go into Ivy League schools don't stay because they're not prepared for the experience beyond the academic part. So I would think about how are your school buildings preparing your students to flourish in spaces that may feel different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Go ahead.
so I was thinking, someone told me, you may feel like a 7 in a room full of 5s, and then it's at that moment when you realize you are not the best and what competition looks like and feels like. And I think that was definitely a moment I wasn't prepared to navigate.
You know, Ivana, I remember I was a high school principal in my last stint of the principalship, obviously at North Tech. And so for the first time, I'm in a school where we're getting youngsters that want to go to college ready for college. But on the other hand, youngsters who may not really know what they want to do, we're steering them to college.
Yep.
And it didn't hit me until I was there 6 years. It didn't hit me hard until I left and I started looking at high school through a consultant's lens. I wasn't looking at it through the consultant lens when I was there. I was looking at it in terms of my lens. So in my lens, my leadership lens, it was convince them to go to college, right?
Yep.
Then I become this consultant. I said, wait a minute, I only gave them half. There's another half, which you just expressed. I said, so the volume of young people from the inner cities in particular, urban environments and rural environments, who have these loving people around them in the school. And some of y'all on this call, you know who you are. These loving people around them, the principal, the assistant principal, the counselor, the head secretary and the other secretaries, the custodian who's got their back, the security who's got their back, the librarian, the nurse. You got this network, this huge family of people saying, I see something in you. You're going to college. So it's all this love. It could begin at junior year, but certainly senior year is hard. And now this youngster, due to economics, is going to be able to get into this school. So now you got all these schools that accepted this youngster, all these folks holding his hands, hugging him, carrying him through the process. And now he gets on campus in September or August. And all them folks are back at the school. Now she is all alone. I didn't think about that as a principal. So when I asked you that question, where did I get it wrong? That's one of the areas I got wrong. See, I mean, literally, as soon as I stepped away from it and became that consultant, it hit me. I said, wait a minute, because I'm looking at it through a different lens now. I said, man, them kids, they don't have the support that they had in high school. What could, and I'm not asking you to answer this question. What could, I'm rhetorical, what could we have done differently in terms of our outreach to the university, perhaps, to ensure that there was some kind of support, or even just having the conversation with this youngster? Now realize this ain't Newark no more. This ain't East Orange no more. This is somewhere where you're going to be amongst kids that only seen people that look like you on television, right? And in some cases, that television was the news and it was a bad look, right? Or sports, but you're not an athlete. So now they can't equate you to that athlete that they love on the television playing sports. You might be there all alone now because you're not used to being with people that don't look like you. They're not used to being with people that don't look like them. So you're not approaching them. They're not approaching you. You're isolated. And then by Christmas break, that kid is done. If not Thanksgiving. I'm done with this. Right. So it's a tough thing. And with that context, Ivana, anything you wanted to add to that, or
just the cherry on top? If you're a student and you don't have a voice, then you're sitting in silence and you're suffering in silence, and no one even knows that this is your experience. So I think, to tie it back to the conversation we just had, if you feel like you have been muted and you're in a space where you're uncomfortable, you're not going to the dean's office asking for help. You're not going to find a counselor and asking what supports are in place. You don't know what to do but to operate in your silo, because that is what you've done traditionally. So that resonates so deeply with me.
Yeah. So I think therefore, as you're saying, a part of that conversation, as because so many of those cases, we're actually convincing this youngster to go to college, where this youngster did not have college on the radar,
Right.
or this youngster didn't feel within him or herself that I'm college material. I
Right.
just got all these people that love me, as Dr. Smith Sneed just said, the entire village, school village, has their back. So I got these people who love me, but it wasn't my option.
Yep.
Now I'm in this place that all y'all back home wanted me to go. Now I'm here. All right. Like, here's here's the analogy. I don't even know if you keep up with this, but some of the folks on here, they probably do. This basketball player by the name of Damian Dash. I'm Dash. What am I saying? I got the rapper on my mind. Damian Lillard,
Mhm.
right? He plays for the Milwaukee Bucks, and he made a comment that there's nothing to do here. Like, I'm bored.
Mhm.
There's no nightlife, right? And I got you, Sneed. Yeah, I had, because see, I'm supposed to be at a conference in New York with Dame Dash, like literally, and I was already committed to be where I'm at today. So I got Dame Dash on my in my headspace. But yeah, Damian Lillard's like so he playing for Milwaukee with arguably one of the best players in the NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo. But he's like, I got no life now, right? There's nothing here, right? Hopefully he's going to stay with the team, but he put that out there. I got no life. This is a young man from Oakland, so when that youngster goes to that school and it's not what I'm accustomed to, my homies ain't with me no more. Mom ain't there no more. The cooking that I was getting's not there anymore.
Mhm.
We
I'm
gotta
broke.
we gotta have that conversation
Yep.
before he and she leaves campus to go to that university campus. And see, that's why I'm such a strong proponent of HBCUs and as it relates to Black students, because at least there's going to be students there that have similar experiences. One of my biggest regrets in life is that I didn't go to a HBCU, but I wasn't ready for that. I was, my story. So I wasn't, they know it too, but I wasn't ready for that yet. But in hindsight, I wish I had have been ready and had gone to one of those schools, right? Good stuff. Let's go to that next one. Let me see what my man Plainfield Greg Sneed is saying. Do you know Greg?
I do. Yes.
Sneed. Yeah, let's go, mentor EO in the building. Yeah, that's my man right there. He's been on here before. Where we at? Where we at? Number 3. Invest in teachers so that they can efficiently and effectively invest in your students. What are you telling us?
Oh my goodness. Your teachers are your biggest assets. And the more we pour into them and develop them, the more they pour into our students. And it's just a trickle down effect. Um, Once you see and understand your teachers as the number one driver of the change in your building, not to say we need to coddle them and give them everything we want. That's definitely not my argument. But the more we pour into them, the more care, the more love, the more professional development, the more support we give them, the more our students feel the same. And I am thankful, Kafele, to you because I knew when teachers were on cloud nine. I knew when you had just given them a compliment because they were all happy and gave us, it all trickled down. But I also knew when they got in trouble because that trickled down to us too. So the energy of the school building literally comes from what you pour into them, and what you pour into them is what you're getting out of your students. So investing in the right teachers and getting the right people on the bus literally will be the turning corner for your school building. And I can't preach that enough.
Absolutely. Let's stay there then. Let me put it back on the screen. I want the people to have it. Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Number 3. We're at number 3. All right, here we go. Invest in teachers so that they can efficiently and effectively invest in your students. It is it's normal
Mhm.
that teachers can have these conversations about administration in a negative way.
Mhm.
Um, Abbott Elementary, a show that when it first came out, I wrote horrible things about it on social media, and teachers really came at me hard. and but a show that I evolved. I look forward to seeing it on Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, right? So I'm like, man, I sure shifted. I enjoyed the show because I'm looking at it through a non-critical lens. I was looking at it through a critical lens, particularly the principal when it first started. Now I just look at it as a show, and I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite shows to watch. So I'm saying that to say this. There's a lot of teachers who will say that Ava, whatever her name is, the principal, they'll say that's our principal. And they mean that in a demeaning way, right? Not, I mean, in some cases, like there's a principal on here now that I won't identify, but her staff said it in front of me, but they meant it in a warm way, right? Not a demeaning way. But there are people, because I read this stuff on social media, who look at it in a demeaning way. And they say that's my principal. That she's just like her, right? And so I'm juxtaposing that with this bullet point you gave me: invest in teachers so that they can efficiently and effectively invest in your students. How do I make that connection, Ivana, with my staff? If I gauge, and one has to be proficient in being able to read the room. If I gauge that my staff see me as a clown, because that's the way that woman is portrayed in that show, at least more so. Nah, she still is. I was going to say they've improved it a little bit, but I remember some scenes. She's still kind of wacky. Her character. I don't want to talk about the lady that's portraying, but might mess around and sue me or something. But yeah, how can that teacher, that leader, earn credibility with that staff and now being in position to invest?
So, disclaimer, I don't watch the show, so I can't make any references. But I think the most powerful move is making sure that students are at the center of all of that leader's decisions. If you truly make all of your decisions and they are based upon students, not the teachers, like students are at the forefront or the middle of every decision you make, there is no way for things to go left. There is no way for you to lose credibility. There is no way for people to interpret you as anything other than an advocate for your kids. When leadership becomes personal, when leadership becomes political, when leadership becomes a safe place that I'm going to ride out to retirement, that is where it's very difficult to return. But when leadership becomes a place where you see as the number one vehicle to improve student success and students are at the center, I think there's no way for things to go left. I think, yes, sorry.
No, you go.
I mean, this is probably the part where I am most passionate about. This is literally the work I do now. And I hear teachers say all the time, and it's like, I want to do right, but I don't feel supported. And I don't feel supported because if my teacher, like teachers know when you don't care, teachers know when you're not invested. So my principal doesn't feel like this is important. My principal is always in their office and they're never present. So teachers just do what they want to do. So why should I do the right thing? When teachers or your staff in general feel like every single last decision you do is geared towards moving students forward, they'll fall in line.
Yeah, I believe you. I'm with you.
That was literally like your spirit. You used to walk around. If you are not here for kids, or if you do not believe in what these kids can do, you need to go. And that's the door. And that's literally probably verbatim what you said. If you are not here for the right reason, then there is no place for you here. But teachers have to feel like that is your driving motivation, or else it's going to be very difficult for them to move students.
Yeah, it matters. So let's put the mirror up there. Hey, somebody, I'm talking to you right now. I'm glad you stayed on this long too. We're gonna wrap up soon, y'all. I got to drive to DC. But listen, is it clear? Is it obvious? Is it evident that your leadership, inclusive of you, the leader, are all about the children, the scholars, the students, the babies? Is it clear? Is it obvious? Is it evident that that's your priority? Right? I mean, again, I said it before an hour ago, I guess. I got in trouble because the students were my priority. I literally fought for them. And someone on here might be wondering, who are you fighting? my boss, superintendent, I went to war. Not physically, because I don't want that out there. Not physically, right? But I went to battle, y'all. I went to war because there were things that came down the pike that I didn't believe in. I'm the leader of the school. I got intelligence, right? I know some things, and I didn't believe in it, so I fought it, and I got in trouble for it, and I was ultimately suspended for it, and I had termination charges. But when that board heard my story, they voted unanimously 7-0 to report to work the next day. I might add, when they heard, I'll say this much, Ivana, when they heard Ivana's story at that microphone, and so many others who came to that microphone, there was no 6-1, 5-2. It was 7-0. Go back to work tomorrow. You didn't do anything wrong. No, I ain't do nothing wrong. I just fought for them kids. Somebody got to do it. Because see, hear me, somebody. I'm not going to use this platform to tell y'all to go to war when you get to work on Monday. That would be reckless of me, because everybody's not built the same way. You know, we're all built how we're built. I was built in a way that, you know, I had built up some other capital, meaning the ability to do some communicating, right? Some speaking. So I knew I was going to be fine. However, I didn't want to do that at that time. I wanted to do this whole thing called leadership. So that was my fight. I was fighting for them kids. They knew it. And my staff fought for me. They showed up at that board meeting. They all dressed in black, right? They supported me because they believed in my cause, right? So I'm saying all that to say that way folks knew that I was all about these children. I couldn't have been about myself in that regard, because I was about to be fired that night. And you know, when you watch the news, a press conference, and you see the microphones on the podium when you watch a press conference, those news mics were on my podium, the podium that I addressed the board at. They were on the podium. And when I watched the news later that night, when I got the video, I should say, because I couldn't see it live, they were breaking into the broadcast, giving updates on my status as whether or not I was going to still be employed. Right? So it was that big of a story, right? So, but yeah, I'm sharing all that with you to say, which I've shared many times in this platform, but in a different context. I was fighting, and it was clear, it was evident that I was fighting for them kids. Let the chips fall where they may. Let's go to the next one. Here we go. High expectations, balance. Got two more to the fam out there. This one and the next one. High expectations, balance with care, will consequently lead to progress. What are you telling us?
Oof. Students will always rise to the occasion. They will surprise you. When you hold the bar high, they will realize that that is their standard, and they will strive towards it. When you lower the bar, not only are you limiting the opportunities that they have in the future, but you're also saying that you're not capable, or you are not deserving to go this high. Progress will come with high expectations. No non-negotiables, no cutting, no shortcuts, nothing. Hold the bar high, and students will follow. Lowering the bar is the worst thing you can do.
Hold the bar high, and students will follow. I believe that.
Yes.
I believe that. Hold the bar high, and students will follow. I got nothing to add to that. Let me go to this next one. This is the last one, folks. Then we're gonna go to our rapid fire BAM questions. Let's see where we at here. Here we go. I like this one too. Empower your students' potential over performance. That's a big one. What are you saying?
As a leader, it's easy to look at state assessment data, diagnostic data, any points or data set you have to see where you are, and that can be discouraging. However, it also causes us to overlook the tremendous potential that sits in our buildings. And if we invest and pour into students' potential, performance and progress will also follow. Imagine if we went and we literally met students where they were, and we built the blocks from there, how easier things would be. Think about how students will feel like they're invested, they're cared for, how much they feel encouraged. not only that, but students then begin to understand their potential in a way. So oftentimes it's easier for us to focus on performance, but don't let potential fall at the wayside.
That's right.
Yes, I was an average student, but my potential was seen. And I think that is where my performance came from. Someone told me, oh, you can actually do better than this. Like, you have the capability. There's something in you. And that is what I strove to find, what was in me. My performance followed after someone saw my potential.
See, that resonates with me, Ivana, because you know my story, and most of the regulars on here do, but we got a lot of names on here who are on here because you're here. So those folks don't know, but I've written 14 books, 13 published. One has been sitting on this computer. I've been sitting on it. I haven't submitted it to the publisher yet, ASCD. I will at some point, but I'm getting ready to write another one in May. I'm gonna start it and finish it in May. So that'll be 15 in terms of manuscripts. And so all those books, over 150 awards, turnaround schools, looked upon by global gurus as one of the top 30 educators worldwide. And just so many National Alliance of Black School Educators Hall of Fame, East Orange Hall of Fame. And I could go on and on, right? But here's my point. I graduated high school in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I came out with a 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
The next 5 years, I did nothing. And then I go to Kane University and graduate summa cum laude.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in me. But nobody found to go to your bullet point. No one saw the potential.
Mm-hmm.
I was being judged on performance.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm this guy that has made my mark in the education world, locally, regionally, statewide, nationally, internationally. But that guy that had the 1.5, that's me too.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody saw my potential and seized upon it,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe I wouldn't have struggled the way I did in school.
Yeah.
But folks, on the school side didn't see it. Certainly my mother was working her butt off. She's on here watching, working her butt off to save me. But the reinforcement wasn't in the building at the school level. It wasn't there. So I'm just piggybacking off of what you just said. Hey, folks, let me get my mirror. Y'all know I don't go nowhere without this. Empower your students' potential over performance. I'm gonna throw a word in there: capacity.
Mm-hmm.
They have the capacity to do so much more than what we see. But that's on us. Don't those of you who are elevating relative to achievement scores, don't just you get them 5 extra points this year, them 10 extra points this year, you demonstrate that academic growth. Don't be like 100% satisfied. Be satisfied, but know that you got more ways to go. But understand that a test score is not the totality of the work. That's just, you got a test score, and for your students, those test scores don't mean jack to them, right? That don't mean nothing to them. That's us, right? So make sure this is a strong closing point that Ivana made. Empower your students' potential, and notice the word she used: empower. She didn't say inspire. She didn't say encourage. She said empower your students' potential over performance. I'm gonna say this publicly to you, Ivana. That's a book title, right? With the word "how" in front of it. How to empower your students' potential over performance. So I'm gonna say it publicly with all these folks on the 4 platforms who are still here. 532 in terms of the live peak number right now with the 4 platforms. Ivana, that sounds like a good title for you. I'm saying it publicly.
Co-author.
Empower your students' potential over performance. Now, of course, that doesn't have to be your first book, but I'm just telling you, that's a book, man. That title will sell, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I know the book industry. That book hasn't been written yet.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no competition. Empowering Your Students' Potential Over Performance. That's your book. Don't forget, I said that on March 23rd, 2024 at 11:50 Eastern Time in the DoubleTree Hotel. I ain't gonna tell y'all what city I'm in. At the DoubleTree Hotel.
Received.
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 That's it. Let's go to these impact questions. These are one sentence or one word only. If you start throwing commas in there, I'm gonna say eh.
Okay, too.
Right? So here we go. Number one. It's 20 questions. Is education on the right path for underserved children in America?
No.
Are you optimistic about the educational prospects for the masses of black and brown students in America today?
Yes.
I need some water. Hang on. I was getting ready to go left. Can true equity occur in America's schools for black, brown, and other underserved students?
Yes.
Does Ivana Wade's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Yes.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
The same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Students.
What fires you up within the work that you do?
Students.
And what do you love about the work you do?
Our mission.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
Oh, the long hours.
Yeah, I know something about that. What has been your greatest victory in this work thus far?
The progress in New York City and New Jersey.
What was your greatest mistake thus far in this work?
Leading my team.
What has been your greatest challenge in this work?
Getting everyone on the same page.
Who inspires you in this work?
You.
I appreciate you. And throw Stallings in there.
I can name 10. You just told me. The whole Healy family, and they all know who they are.
And a lot of them on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you reading right now? It could be a book, but it also could be an article, blog, tweet, anything.
Atomic Habits.
What book do you recommend for our viewers?
All upcoming 15 of your books.
Yeah. What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
To get my MBA.
Are you satisfied with where you are professionally?
Yes.
What could you say to viewers out there who continue to face closed doors?
You got this. Open them, kick them down, make new ones.
What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
I'll hand them a match.
And if Ivana Wade was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Unstoppable.
Woo! Let me tell you something. This was powerful, powerful, powerful. I gotta tell the audience, y'all know I was smiling more than I normally do, man. Right? My mother probably like my wife and they like, man, he grinning the whole time. I tried. I mean, I kept looking at myself and I said, I'm trying. Get serious, man. Like, I mean, I'm serious, but stop grinning and smile. This is a former student, man. I couldn't get myself to go like, all right, Ivana. So like I do the other guests.
Yes, I've had enough of those conversations and those faces.
Yeah, right. No, this was special, y'all, man. This is a former student, man. Who would have thought it? I got some others I'm gonna be bringing on here. One of them is Shanavia Davis. She don't know that, but she'll find out soon, right? But it's some others on here that are in the education space. Hey, I appreciate y'all giving us the emojis before I ask. That means you locked in. So those of you that don't realize what's happening, I see you, Takia Jones. Takia, you still in education? Hit me up and let me know what you're doing, so I know, because I might want to get you and Shanavia on here together, right? So, listen, y'all. For those of you that don't know, we applaud our guests with emojis. So just give us your favorite emojis. You can give it to like multiple emojis and doing all that. That's how we applaud the guests. And most of you already started. So both of you in education. All right, I'll be in touch with both of you. So that's Shanavia and Takia. So yeah, hit them emojis up. And then here, oh, I see it, Dina. Okay, good, good, good. And I brought my I bring the little miniature back, right? So you hit it out the park every time you came to bat, man. So many runs. I'm wearing my Negro League jersey, Detroit Stars, and you hit it out like you was on the Detroit Stars. I kept this name up here but deliberately. That's my mother.
Yes. Shout out
Yeah, she said excited about seeing Ivana. Keep up the good work, man. So that's my mom, y'all. She hasn't missed not one session. She's been watching 204 sessions live. That's a lot. That's a lot. We coming up on that anniversary in May 4th, whatever May, the first Saturday in May is. That'll be the 4-year anniversary of this platform, man. I'm looking forward. Let me Ivana, there may be folks that want to get in touch with you in terms of bringing you and the company into their district. Talk to them about how they can get in contact with you.
Oh, perfect. You can follow me on LinkedIn at Ivana Wade. I am on Facebook, Ivana Wade as well. Or you can email me at my work address, ywade@cainc.com.
And what's I don't know if you want to say the name of the company or no?
Oh, yes. So I am the director of learning with Curriculum Associates. We are the makers of iReady, magnetic reading, and iReady classroom mathematics. All of our core programs have received perfect scores by Ed Reports and used throughout the country.
There you go. There you go. So get in touch with Ivana. If you missed the contact information, just rewind. Just go back to where's my timer, right? Oh, 2 hours and 1 minute and 10 seconds, right? And you can hear it again, and then reach out to her. Any questions you may have on anything, reach out to her. I know she's a great resource, so you can do that. Let me do my rundown real quick, Ivana. You stay put, and we'll talk offline. Folks, appreciate you being here as always. You see, I don't care where I am in the world. You see, I'm in a hotel. I'm in Virginia, in the Richmond area, but this doesn't stop. No matter where I am, the show goes on. I'm going to be in Aruba in May, and I already secured the Wi-Fi that I need so that I can do this from Aruba in May. I'll be on a little vacation. I'm taking a few more vacations than normal these days. I'm getting older, and I need to enjoy life outside of just the work. So that's what we're doing. Let me give you the rundown, folks, and then I'm going to say to y'all, have a great weekend. Next week, you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss any of these weeks. Every week, I got powerful people on. Next week, number 205, I got a special guest. I got the Assistant Principal of the Year in Connecticut for 2023. You know, she's a family member. She's been rocking with us since the first day, Arlette Johnson. So she was the 2023 Connecticut Assistant Principal of the Year. You don't want to miss her. We go on one-on-one. I had her, she was supposed to come on a lot earlier, but I had her on with other people. And I said, this is the assistant principal of the year. I can't have her on with guests. I got to have her go solo. So we're going solo. Make sure that you, every Saturday morning, Facebook Live, tune in to Sean Hurd at 10 o'clock. Sheikah Houston and Tammy Taylor, doctors Sheikah Houston and Tammy Taylor, Create and Educate 10:30. Dean Packard, Unlock the Middle with, I should say, Josh Tovar and Dean Packard, Unlock the Middle on Sunday nights at 7. School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele. Join me in Houston, July 9 and 10. This is not an event where I fly out and become a guest speaker. This is an event where you come to me. My home will be Houston for those 2 days, July and 10. So come on out. Go to principalkafele.com. Scroll down to the announcements on the homepage. Click the link and then register. And then we're going to spend 2 full days talking nothing but leadership. My topic: what is the value of what is my value to the teachers that I supervise instructionally? Right? You've heard me talk about this on here. That is the title of the book I'm writing in May. I'm most passionate about that title these days. What is my value to the teachers that I supervise instructionally? So that's our topic at the Summer Institute. That is my topic. I got 3 videos on this platform with that title, and then this book I'm writing, which will be done at the end of May. So all I'm gonna do in May is write. I'm not doing any speaking in May. And we're going to finish that book so I can get it out. Black Educators Rock Conference, which I'm affiliated with. You want to register for that July 18 through 21. So go to my homepage, register, scroll down. to announcements and register for the Black Educators Rock Conference. That'll be in Houston as well, July 18 through 21. My books, you know what they are. Go to Amazon, get yourself some of them books. Subscribe to the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel, and like and follow the AP and New Principals Academy Facebook page. And then lastly, running my mouth too much. Lastly, folks, your diet, your exercise, and your COVID-19 and other diseases precautions. Make sure that you are taking care of you. Yesterday, I flew here yesterday, landed at 10:30, went to the wrong hotel, drove another half hour, got here, and went right to the gym, y'all. I could have sat here and chilled and watched some college basketball. South Carolina women were on. Nah, I watched them, but I watched them on a treadmill. I'm gonna get it in. I didn't feel like doing the treadmill because I had to speak last night. But I got them 2 miles in. I just did 2 miles, but that's better than nothing, right? Somebody out there said 2 miles, that's better than I ever do. Yeah, well, I'm getting it in. So make sure that you get it in. Other than that, have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Let me get Stallings off of here. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Now cock that fist back all the way and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam! That's how we close it out. I'll see y'all next Saturday, man. Y'all tell somebody, and we're going to learn a lot from AP Principal of the Year, Connecticut, Arlette Johnson.